I think it's a bullshit excuse, mate. But it's one of the biggest sort of excuses or things we hear when we say to people, eat more protein. We see, brown food is quite cheap, whereas protein is more expensive. How do you get around that, mate? You work with a lot of clients, you've transformed yourself, you work on this a lot. How do you get people protein, and talk to us a little about also good quality protein?
Yeah. So first of all, protein being expensive, I think that's pretty much a myth. Like when you actually, if you were to analyze the cost of buying a lunch out versus prepping your own, you would probably prep 3 times the amount for one lunch.
Yeah.
So let's just debunk that myth first of all. Now that protein is as accessible as ever, but the problem is not all protein sources are created equal. And, there's, as you said, the diet culture now, like you see these protein branded cereals. I saw protein Weetabix. You see like protein bars. You see protein cereal bars. And okay, if you wanted to get 30 grams of protein from a chicken fillet, that would cost you roughly what, 120, 130 calories. If you wanted to get 30 grams of protein from some of these protein cereals, you'd have to eat 400 or 500 calories.
Yeah.
So the type of protein you consume, you want the ratio of protein to calories to be in your favor. And the leaner source of protein tend to have a lot of protein, high in protein, but are lower in calories.
Right.
So that's where your white meat, your turkey, your chicken, your white fish, your cod really comes in. Your leaner meats, your lean steak, your beef, your salmon. What are these whole ingredients that our great grandparents, decades, generations ago would have been eating?
Yeah.
And try to model those kind of protein foods as much as possible. Eggs. I know you're a big proponent of paleo, and a lot of those protein sources there, like they've lived true to this day for a reason. So I'd be saying for anyone who has typically 4 meals a day, let's get at least 2 of those. Let's get at least 2 of those where we're getting them from more whole foods, like the lean meats, like the eggs, like those proteins that we spoke about. And then some other options, maybe fat-free yogurt, protein powders, if you get a good brand there, they can all be beneficial. But one of the simplest and most effective ways to increase protein is to just add more to what you're already having. Like, It annoys me that people, I look at we're able to see, in their MyFitnessPal, how many grams of protein they're having at dinner and so on. And it's like 100 grams of protein sometimes they'll be starting out, and 400 grams of the Irish potato, everyone's favorite. Can we just skew those ratios slightly higher? So just double the amount of protein. Keep your potatoes if you want, but let's just at least double our protein size, so we're getting more in there at dinner, at lunch, at breakfast, at all the place.
It's often a lot of sort of training the stomach, creature of habit as well, mate, and what people have been used to having. So it's a great example there. And let's keep it Irish. Let's keep it on potatoes. If we've generally eaten a lot of a carbohydrate, there has to be a period of sort of, yes, increase the protein, but if we want to reduce in another area, because generally people will start to feel full. I think what I'm saying here is a lot of time that transition, and the fact that if we are, when we eat protein, like I'll eat steak for dinner 3 nights a week, sometimes 4 nights a week if I'm feeling it. And that, if it's a decent amount of protein or a decent sized steak and it's a good cut, it will sit with me and fuel me for a number of hours, mate. It won't. Whereas if we're eating a lot of carbohydrate, we're satiated in the moment, but we'll get hungry again a lot faster.
Absolutely. It's one of the simplest and most effective ways to just actually improve someone's lifestyle, help them drop weight, help them drop fat. No one really ever got overweight. Let's agree in this, from eating too many chicken breasts or chicken fillets or lean protein sources. It's what you're having with them. And even like with the boiled potatoes, the rice, they're all fine, but it's how they're cooked. It's the oils, it's the butter. That's what makes them so simple and easy to eat. So even the order that you eat your food can be important. And if your plate, you have your potatoes, you have your rice, pick your carb there. If you leave that till last and let's get the protein, let's get the veggies in first, you probably won't have as much of an appetite for those carbs come the end.
Explain to us the science behind that, mate. How does that actually work?
It's just the type of food. The type of food. It's not just what you eat, but it's what you absorb. And some foods are more satiating or filling than others. And particularly when it pertains to fat loss, 3 things are so important: fiber, protein, and water intake. Because those foods tend to keep you fuller for longer and keep you more satiated. So knowing that to be true, then let's just look at your plate. Imagine your plate's a clock. Okay. You want from 12 to 20 to be a lean source of protein. From maybe 20 past until 1:45 to have your veggies. And then if you want that final 1:45 to the old clock for your carbs, so be it. But if you prioritize the protein and the veggies there first, it's going to keep you fuller for longer. You're getting tons of, vitamins, minerals in, and you're still having your carbs. It's just, it's the ratio again. Like we spoke about at the start, it's the ratio and the amount that you have of each.
It's interesting because one thing that a friend of mine always gives me a hard time about is eating in what I call combinations. So it's quite graphic, mate, but we're here, so we'll stay here.
Yeah,
we're on we've got I love when you're saying that, I'm visualizing it 12 till 20 past, 20 past till 1:45 till the end. So we know how to put up that. But what I love, mate, is I love a little bit of the steak, a little bit of the potato, and a little bit of the salad, all on the fork. Way too much. Holly's like, you've got so much on your fork. Like, mate, calm down. And the taste of, and I think I know where this comes from. I've worked a lot to try and figure it out. And I think it genuinely comes from when I was in boarding school, we had to eat everything on the plate. And therefore the stuff, because in boarding school, they would always destroy the vegetables. So that's what, I didn't mind vegetables as a kid at home, but at boarding school, when the cauliflower is like soggy, still got water on it, you have to use the potato and the mince to try, you put it all together to get it in your mouth. And I think I trained like that for so long that I just love to eat in combination. So your way of going sort of protein, then into vegetables, I'm freaking out.
honestly, I'm not educating anyone on how to freaking finish your food. At the end of the day, total calories will be the most. If you're getting that on your plate, the order in which you eat it, it's like people saying, I want to lose fat. What are the best supplements and fat burners? Let's actually start you out by just eating more protein, moving more, exercising more, and we can worry about the small micros at the end there. And by the way, I absolutely love that. I love combining foods there as well. When you get a dinner, you have to have at least one bite where every different ingredient is present on that fork and stuffed into your mouth. So amen, Marcus. I'm with you on that.
But I think it is super interesting, mate. It's one of the biggest things that I'm seeing, and that's why I'm enjoying you backing up some of the stuff that I've put out recently. To be honest, mate, you're doing me a massive favor. But the amount of protein that people eat and the quality of protein that people eat in, I think, the modern era is deteriorating massively. And you said it so clearly, mate. And it's interesting. How do I get rid of skinny fat? We've spoken for the last 15 minutes just about protein and the quality of protein. We haven't made it any more complicated than anything else. Of course, you've mentioned about sources, but it's really, a lot of it is rooted in the amounts of protein, which is, it's actually quite crazy how simple the fix is.
Honestly, I think sometimes people just try to make it sound more complicated than it is. Like, look, another simple way to, seeing as we're on the topic of skinny fat, and as I mentioned, typically people who are skinny fat, Marcus, they're not necessarily overweight. So you're probably wondering, how many grams of protein should I eat a day? I always like to aim high. reach for the stars, you still might get to the moon. So I would say whatever your body weight is in kilos, just double that. 75 kilos, that's double that is 150 grams.
Yeah.
And then how many meals do you have in a day? Typically, most people have 3 meals and 1 snack. Okay, so let's just say we need to get 150 grams of protein across 4 meals. Divide that by 4, and you're roughly talking 35, 40 grams of protein per meal. What does that look like in action? Breakfast, it could be some eggs there with protein with your porridge or Greek yogurt. Lunch, it could be a salad. Dinner, you've got your meat there. And then for a little treat, Greek yogurt, as I said, is a good one. Protein powders, that's where those blends can really be helpful just to make up the remainder. But it's so simple in practice. But I guess, there's other, this is our area of expertise, and there's stuff that I certainly don't know in other areas that someone else might tell me is just really simple to execute. So that's why there's professionals in every field, Marcus.
The only thing that you've mentioned a few times that obviously I don't love, Adrian, is your yogurt.
Yeah. Now, what I will say is 0% fat. And I know with the paleo there, again, compared to what? Like compared to having a protein cereal, it's probably better. Compared to having a lean source of steak, it's probably not as good.
Yeah.
But again, like everything, if you can certainly include these foods in moderation and still look, feel, and perform the way you want to.
Yeah, it's interesting, mate, because whilst I still believe, due to the role that lactase has in the body, the way that enzyme works or stops working, I still believe that to a certain extent, everyone has a certain amount of lactose intolerance. However, if I think it's like you said, Adrian, if you're, there's some people that have a great physique, feel great, might even have a 6-pack and perform super well. And, they're having a Greek yogurt or they're having some cheese and it doesn't affect them. And there's other people who are not in good shape and don't feel good with dairy, but that, like, even when they remove it, that it doesn't put them in great shape. So it is with you, mate. It's a little bit sort of down to the individual, having that awareness around what works and what doesn't really work for you.
Yeah, to be honest, in my own personal diet, my preference is primarily whole foods, eggs, meats, lean proteins. And I'll only dip into like protein powders and Greek yogurts if I feel I'm falling short for that day. But again, just for the masses, I feel, what we're speaking about here, generally, these are all just general principles. There's a lot of different methods, but if you understand the principles, you can pick your own methods.